my condition's called spinal muscular atrophy, and it's essentially just over time my muscles weaken.
Out of nowhere, like I was like a super healthy kid, everything was going good in my life, and then all of a sudden I was diagnosed with like heart failure. I have a condition called dilated cardiomyopathy, which is, you don't need to know the science of it, but it's just basically when something is stressing out the heart so much, so the heart compensates by expanding its own wall, like cardiac wall, its own muscle.
I try to live life as normal as possible, as much as it permits me to. Obviously that's not always possible, but I try my best.
Can you give an example?
He doesn't let his condition like affect his everyday lifestyle. That's what I would say. Like he still fits in with us all the time. Like every time I see him on campus, I'm like, hey Matt, how you doing? Like he's so cool.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, can you tell us though? I mean, I want to hear from the others too. But can you say like how you first decided, like what you were drawn to in each other as friends?
For me,
you said something wrong with me. Do you use the term something wrong with me?
Like if I ask each person a question, everybody would have a question for you. How is it for you to know that people see you and are curious about you?
Yeah, by the way, like when I go out in public and anybody is wearing any strap like around their shoulder, kind of how I am, right, I always think in my head, oh, they have one. And I realize like that's just like how my mind was when I was in the hospital. You know what I mean?
My name is Matt. I'm a sophomore in DUS, and my condition's called spinal muscular atrophy, and it's essentially just over time my muscles weaken.
And what else would you say about yourself?
I mean, I try to live life as normal as possible, as much as it permits me to. Obviously that's not always possible, but I try my best.
Can you give an example?
Going upstairs isn't easy. So yeah.
How do you do it? What happens?
Hopefully there's an elevator, I don't know.
But when you say I try to live my life to the fullest, what does that mean from your perspective?
Just trying to, like socially. I know there were certain classes in high school where there's like the special education class. You know, I had the option to take that and take myself away from the rest of the population. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be in with, you know, everyone else.
And what was a challenge of that made it, or somebody might suggest, oh no, you should be in this other group, other population?
I honestly don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
It was just so clear to you.
Yeah.
I just want to be with everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay. What would your friends say about you?
Yeah, that's actually a good question.
You'd have to ask them that yourself. I don't really know.
Okay.
A lot of different opinions there, I feel like.
You don't even have a guess?
No.
Are any of your friends here?
No. I know a couple people from high school here.
Wait, you guys are friends?
What's up? Right there, yeah.
Hang on a second. Can we get
What's up, man?
Can you answer?
I would say he is cool as hell, funny.
Funny.
Freshman year, well, we had a friend that went here, but he doesn't go here anymore, who always used to help Matt out, and then we met him through him, and we used to just hang out all the time. He's cool as hell. That's what I would say. He's real cool, funny.
So did you
He
meet
doesn't
him?
care
You met in
about
the
it. Like
dorms?
he doesn't let his condition like affect his everyday lifestyle. That's what I would say. Like he still fits in with us all the time. Like every time I see him on campus, I'm like, hey Matt, how you doing? Like he's so cool.
Oh, that's cool. Wait, can you tell us though? I mean, I want to hear from the others too. But can you say like how you first decided, like what you were drawn to in each other as friends?
For me, I don't know. I was introduced to him. I think it was like he's kind of like witty. I think it's that drew me to him. Like he's funny and kind of witty, and I didn't expect that from him, which is kind of like crazy because it's like you're judging a book by a cover. But then like when I seen his personality, I was like, whoa, this is really cool. Like it's crazy.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Wait, is this like your crew or something?
Yeah, we're his crew.
Yeah.
We're his crew. So like So like, yeah, like if you got a problem with me, you got a problem with me.
I low-key forgot. I forgot they were in this class. I'm not even gonna lie.
Very cool. Thank you.
No problem, no
That
problem.
helps a lot.
Who am I
Wow.
giving this to?
And can we? So we're coming back, but just Gavin, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you all can hear Gavin.
Awesome. Yeah. So first of all, I am definitely not as cool as Matthew. I have to say, honestly, man. I mean, so first of all, I'm Gavin Morris, and I am a freshman here at Penn State. I major in political science. I minor in public administration. However, though, in January, see this bag here? Like, this basically helps my heart.
Before you say more, no, it's okay.
Yeah.
How many people noticed that bag? I'm curious.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, same. Yeah. I mean,
I thought it was binoculars, actually. I was like, all right.
My dumb is like, oh, so you got a portable heart?
I mean,
Okay,
no, I
so
get
just
it.
about a third of the class noticed that, but okay.
Yeah, you know, and it's kind of an invisible condition what I have. I mean, you know, you would think this is like a phone or whatever, phones or maybe whatever it is that's in this pouch, right? But it is a device that helps my heart pump blood more efficiently through it. Because in January, out of nowhere, like I was like a super healthy kid, everything was going good in my life, and then all of a sudden I was diagnosed with like heart failure. I have a condition called dilated cardiomyopathy, which is, you don't need to know the science of it, but it's just basically when something is stressing out the heart so much, so the heart compensates by expanding its own wall, like cardiac wall, its own muscle, right? Which inevitably causes the heart and the body, like organs in the body, to fail more, right? You know, so it's kind of like it's like a death spiral of things that happen, right? You know, with that kind of heart failure.
That's a pretty big statement, a death spiral.
It is, yeah, because it's kind of, I mean, like I'm not a medical. I'm not like a medical student or anything like that, but it's kind of like it reminds me of a defect in humans in general. When our hearts fail, our bodies try to naturally perpetuate this cycle of it trying to fix itself that kind of makes itself worse and cannot function long term. So like what happened with me is that in January, all of a sudden my legs were swelling and I was out of breath, which to any doctor, to any medical student in here, that should be obvious symptoms of heart failure, those two things specifically. But to me, it wasn't. To me, it was just, I was sick and I had these things going on. I didn't know what was going on because I was healthy and I had no reason to assume that I would have anything really wrong with me, let alone chronic heart failure. So I ended up, do I have to go on?
I wanted to ask you, but before, I know I'm over here, but do you use, you said something wrong with me. Do you use the term something wrong with me for yourself?
Sometimes, rarely though.
Rarely.
Rarely.
Can you say the difference and why you wouldn't say it, and then Gavin does?
Again, my philosophy in life is just live as normal as possible. So I try to stay that way as much as possible. Yeah.
So for you to say there's something wrong with me would take away from you living as you.
Exactly.
And for you, something wrong with you means, what makes you say it that way?
For me, I literally kind of mean it like at base level, like it's just something that was wrong with me. It is a condition. Dilated cardiomyopathy, the condition that all this, I don't really consider it, it's not really considered a disease, or I wasn't born with it and it's not genetic, we know. So it's kind of this extra thing that was wrong with me, but however, how I view it, it's not something that's wrong with me and it defines who I am. I mean, I wasn't even really thinking about it. I got the email to do this yesterday, right? And I hadn't really, you know, I've been going through Penn State for this last month since I'm a freshman, and I haven't really thought about my condition that much. Like I do things, like I take medicine for it and I do all these things, right? That kind of accommodate, but I don't think about it because they're normal to me, right? And other people don't necessarily see it, right? Because you wouldn't look at this and look at me and think, oh my God, he's a heart failure. You know, he's someone whose heart is failing, right? You just don't think those things.
So I want to ask a question to both of you, and then we'll
open it up. Yeah.
Then we're gonna bring our other volunteers in. And I know you might not have said this exactly, but I think when we were talking about this, one of the things you said was you might need a heart transplant, right? In other words, you're facing mortality.
Correct.
And so the question for both of you is, how much do you feel like you're facing mortality when you're thinking about your conditions? Whoever wants to.
All right. Yeah, I think whenever I think about my condition, I also do think about mortality and I do think about death. Because, I mean, just the condition that I have in general, if you look at my statistics for it, you know, but most people, when they're diagnosed, even if they have a pump like this, right, it's not like, oh, you might live till you're 40. It's more of like, you will be an exception if you live till that age, right?
You will be what?
An exception.
An exception.
Like a statistical exception, right? You know, just kind of lucky, I guess, in other words, right?
And that's what you're living with right now?
That's right, you know. This device that I have does help me live, because it would have been early February, I would have passed away. Because, like I said, you know, it's just so quick, right? You die so quick, right? You know, without like this kind of medical intervention that I got.
Matt, did you want to answer her question? Do you remember what your question was?
The question is about how much do you think of mortality in relation to your condition?
Most of the time, I don't think too much of it. I mean, there's certainly been like certain experiences with surgery or random other things that happen that, you know, would make me think about it, but most of the time I don't, no.
In this class, because Matt, you sit down in the front here, which means that everyone in the class can see you. And everyone in the class, I don't know if there's anyone in this class who, well, there probably are a few people who haven't noticed you, but people note you and have seen you, right? And I know that everybody has a question. Like if I ask each person a question, everybody would have a question for you. How is it for you to know that people see you and are curious about you?
I mean, I don't really have any thoughts on that. I mean, I'm always open for people to ask questions or whatever, but, you know, if they don't want to ask questions, like, I couldn't care.
Because it's so interesting, right? Because for Aaliyah, people see you're hijabi. So people have a lot of questions for Aaliyah. But there are a number of hijabi women in here.
I was just going to say just curiosity.
Just curiosity,
whether they ask
right?
or not.
So they just a curiosity, and so it's a thing. But people might see your bag. Nothing against you, Allison, but I doubt people look at you and really say, like, oh, I got a question for her, right? And same with you, John, right? But for the two of you, more so. And it's just kind of,
Although, it's one thing that's really interesting about culture, right, is when you say that about Allison, just using Allison for an example, there are places that Allison could go that people would be like, where are you from? Yeah. Who are you? I have questions for you, right? Because you would stand out, because you wouldn't look like everybody else in that space. So it's very contextual, right? Nobody would be interested in Matt just visually if you were surrounded with the Handy Capable organization. They'd be all, different reasons, but...
You know, one time we went to a conference in Miami. There were a lot of students in the organization. We all went to a conference at this hotel in Miami. And there were it was a massive hotel, like 5,000 rooms kind of thing, right? There were easily 1,000 people in wheelchairs. And it's like...
1,000 people, what did you say?
In wheelchairs.
In wheelchairs.
Like nobody's using wheelchairs, right? You wouldn't stand out at all. You just would be another person. So you might stand out to other people who maybe have your condition or disease or whatever, but really it's not. Yeah. Okay.
I just think that's important when we're talking about culture.
Completely.
Right?
Completely.
Right.
Like, I've been Lori and I both have been in Kuwait, have been in Qatar, we've been in the Emirates, we've been like, I know what it's like to be in a room like this where, we're two of the only Westerners, and there are, 100 or 200 hijabi women, and just like how normal that is, and how you fit right in, and it's like, okay, here it is. But, Lori's not. Lori's the only one in the room who's not wearing a hijab.
there are some people who have questions, some don't, because luckily in State College there's a lot of hijabis around and a lot of different cultures. So this is very nice for me. Sometimes, so I'd always go to the IM. You'd always see me there. Sometimes when I'd exercise, they'd be like, oh, I've never seen a hijabi exercise or weightlift or something like that. And I'm like, no, we do that. And I love that. So sometimes, like that.
It's just so fascinating. It's so normal, right? It's what I think what both of you are saying. It's just so like, okay. Do you have a quick response? Do you have a response or we open it up?
Yeah. I just have a quick point to add. You were mentioning about like, for example, like if Matthew going to something, there's 1,000 other people with wheelchairs. It doesn't seem different, or when you're working with people who are like medical or something like that. Like to them, like it's not any different to what they're used to.
Yeah.
Right. And like when I was in the hospital, right, there would be these doctors around me that would just be like, oh yeah, you can get a heart transplant. We'll give you this heart pump. We'll put a metal pump on your heart. Right. And to them it was normal. Right. And I'd see kids walking down the hallway as well who would have one of these. Right. By the way, like when I go out in public and anybody is wearing any strap like around their shoulder, kind of how I am, right? I always think in my head, oh, they have one. And I realize like that's just like how my mind was when I was in the hospital, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
But I just kind of want to relate that back to when I was in the hospital, right? How normal it is and how different it is.
And you were in the hospital for like 3 months, right?
It was it was like almost 3 months, yeah.
And you hang on, can I say this?
Of course.
I think.
Yeah.
Wait,
Go ahead. Yeah.
weren't you the valedictorian of your class?
So I was gone from school for 4 months, from the end of January to very late May when I came back for like 2 weeks. And I was, I'm not trying to brag, but I was still the valedictorian of my class.
Wow.
Right? And gave the valedictorian speech.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's intense. Right. I'm just going to skip out for 4 months, but
Yeah, that's right.
I'll still be
What does
on
that say
top.
about school?
It says school's irrelevant. It's what it says.
That's right. It's
Hey,
just like, do nothing.
Let's open it to the three of you.